Well, hello everybody, and Merry Christmas or Merry Christmas Eve. This is Father Terry talking from someplace in the universe, as you can see from the background. We just had a great view the other day of Jupiter and Saturn, a giant star. It looked like to us, and reminded all of us of the Nativity. I think it was Matthew who talked about a star in his gospel. So I want to talk to you a little bit about Christmas in terms of my own personal belief and why Christmas is important to me. Because many of you hear me talking about other religions and the value of other religions and what they all can do for us. And I think they all have great wisdom and are great paths to spiritual development and in-depth growth. But I happen to be a Catholic Christian. And why is that? What what kept me or held me? Well, I have to go back to about this time in 1970, when many of you were not even around. It was Christmas night, 1970, and I was hired to mop the floor of a big restaurant in Tahoe, Nevada. Here I was with an MBA from Columbia University. I was a Ivy Leaguer and unemployed. Well, why was I unemployed, you might ask? In 1970, was there a recession? No, I was actually working for a sizable corporation in San Francisco, downtown, in what was once the tallest building in San Francisco. And I was on the way up in the corporation, but I like to party and have fun. And so I stayed up way late one night and called up in the morning and said, "Oh, I don't feel well. I'm not coming in." But somebody knew. And so they called me back a little while later and said, "You're fired." So there I was, unemployed, and couldn't even afford my apartment in San Francisco. So I was living as kind of a unemployed bum, if you will, in Lake Tahoe area, California. And that was the only job I could get at the moment. So I was pretty far down. I don't even remember going to Mass that Christmas day. Maybe I did. In other words, the church was not significant in my life at that time. Well, we'll move ahead a couple of weeks. Things hadn't gotten much better. I was still living in a house up there, like sort of caretaking it for some employed skiing friends of mine. And I decided that I was going to sit down one evening with a beer or two, and I was going to start reading the Gospels, which I knew were stories of Jesus. I had 16 years Catholic education. So the first Gospel happens to be Matthew. That's the way it is. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So I said, I'll just read, and if something grabs me, I'll stop. If nothing, I won't. Let's see if how Christian I am. Well, I got to chapter 11, and I think it was verse 28 to 30. You can look it up, Matthew 11, 28 to 30. And it said, "Come to me." This is Jesus speaking. "Come to me, all you who are weary and find life burdensome. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. I'm gentle and humble of heart." I had a white light experience. It's as if the room lit up. What happened was I suddenly realized, I'm sure I must have heard this gospel before, but I suddenly realized that this Jesus, who's supposed to be God, says, I can come to him just as I am. I don't have to go to confession first. I don't have to get squeaky clean. I don't have to do all the things that he talked about doing to be a good person. He says, if you're weary and life's burdensome, and I said, on those 2 counts, I qualify. He says, just come to me. He says, I got a light burden for you. Well, I wasn't so much thinking about the burden. I was just so glad that I could come to God. And it was very personal. It was Jesus inviting me as the mess I am to come to him. Now, all these other wisdom literatures, and there are many of them, there's the Vedanta, there's Heart Sutra, there's Tao Te Ching. There's just so much. And they all have great wisdom sayings. And I've read many of them, but there was nothing in there that grabbed me personally, one to one, and got to my heart, saying, I know you're a mess, Terry. Come to me anyway, just as you are. And that to me was a piece of good news. And it really began to make me look at my life and say, this God is a God that loves me in spite of myself, not because I've earned it. I was unemployed. No one wanted me. I couldn't get a job. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't perfect enough. I wasn't smart enough. Whatever it was, I wasn't enough. And here it is God inviting me in mid-January 1961, which happened to be the same month that Bill Wilson died, by the way, the co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous. Just a side point. And I said, wow, this is what is called a religious experience. It's not something that an religion can give you. It's not something that wisdom sayings can give you. It's a direct encounter with the divine, with the holy, with what I've come to call love, the verb, or God. And so Howard Thurman, by the way, who wrote Orbis has a book of his spiritual writings, essential writings, they call it, Howard Thurman. I think you can get it in our bookstore. He speaks a lot about these religious experiences, that they are important if we are going to pursue a path of spiritual growth and be all God calls us to be. And so I had that one-on-one encounter that night, and it was good news. And I wanted to tell people about it. So imperfect me is now a priest, I guess, talking about it. But what I think is, if you look at that and then bring it to Christmas, because it had just been a couple of weeks after Christmas in 1971, but if you bring it to Christmas, it's another experience. That white light experience was God manifesting divine love and presence to me, totally unearned. I was just reading the scriptures to see if he wanted to be a Christian, if I believed in anything. And so what was Jesus? This baby in a manger. Who's expecting that? Who's looking forward to that? Oh, there was talk about a Messiah, but it was all a big power thing, and it was going to be political. And here he comes without anybody earning his coming and totally unexpected, which is what religious experiences are. And he comes as a nothing. Really, I mean, he comes to small town Nazareth. It's no place. And he comes to, people who, let's say, working class, carpenter father, young girl mother, and he's not important in the world, just as I wasn't important in Lake Tahoe, but God felt that was important. I was important enough for God, and I think that's why Jesus came, because each of us are important enough for God without being a big deal. We don't have to be a big deal. When God became human, as I believe, God didn't become human as a big deal. God became human as almost no deal. And so it was not a God trying to control anything. He was not a God showing any power. And isn't those the things that we often do? I want more control. I want more power. I want more security. Well, Jesus didn't have a lot of security. He's born in a stable or a cave. He's hightailing it to Egypt because this crazy ruler is trying to kill him. So he comes in a lot of humility, lack of power, lack of security, lack of control, and to reveal that this little baby who's going to grow up to be Jesus of Nazareth and the Christ loves me and us without any conditions. In other words, there's nothing we did to make it happen. And so his life seems small at Christmas time. I'm focusing on Christmas. It's a personal connect with each of us. It's saying he loves us just as we are. We don't have to get all fixed up. And it's okay that we don't have power. It's okay that we don't have a lot of control. It's okay that we're a little frightened about COVID. He loves us anyway. So if your life is small and seemingly hidden, and a lot of people say, oh, this whole year of COVID, I wasn't able to get anything done. I think people have forgotten about me. Well, it's not like Jesus doesn't know this kind of life. So I don't have to be a big deal. I can be I can be no deal. And so I think about that, especially here up in the monastery. Now you think that you're kind of, can't go out and be with people and you're home and so on and so forth. Well, try a monastery up in the mountains. You're pretty small and forgotten up here. But what I realize in my meditations when I'm here is I'm not forgotten. I'm just small and out of the way and unimportant, but not forgotten and not unloved. And that's what I think is the whole beauty of Christmas. A baby can't talk, can't see anything wise or quotable, can't sound brilliant. And so much of that baby I feel comfortable with because that's often how I am. And it's fine to be that way. It's fine to live an ordinary life. Just live it as best as you can. And as you're living it, think about loving other people, not because they're famous or successful or rich, well-to-do, handsome, beautiful, whatever it is, big house, big car, whatever. Just that they're lovable in themselves. Think of people in grocery stores or just so many people like that. So I think that Christmas especially says the ordinary is extraordinary. I think the Buddha said that. I think one of the people that said this. So that I didn't accomplish a whole lot in this COVID year is not important. I'm still loved. Baby doesn't accomplish a lot, If he gets fed and gets to go to the bathroom, gets his diaper changed, it's a good day. So let us celebrate that we're loved. Somewhat, we're inactive, we're somewhat hidden away, but we're still loved. And so keep that in mind as you celebrate Christmas, as small as it might be. It may only be small relative to bigger parties, more people, more relatives, but you're not less loved this year of COVID than you were when there was a big Christmas party with travel and everything. So I wish to say to each and every one of you that you're lovable and I love you. And I pray for you wherever you are, that you will enjoy being you this Christmas because Jesus Christ enjoys you being you. And I think when we can accept being loved as we are, that's the best springboard to being everything that we can be. So, Merry Christmas.